This is Robert Kraft, and I'm your host on SNN Network, and we are a proud media sponsor for the upcoming Precious Metals Summit Beaver Creek, where it is happening virtually this year. Joining me right now is Jason Simpson. He is the president and CEO of Orla Mining. It's a publicly traded company. The symbol is OLA on the TSX. Jason, thank you for joining me today. How you doing?
I'm good, Robert. Thank you for having me. I look forward to having a chat.
Yeah, same here. So let's dig right in. Let's start with a very quick overview and history of Orla Mining, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. Orla was started by a group of investors led by Pierre Lassonde, and anybody familiar with the gold business certainly knows that name. The strategy was to create a gold company that would be ready for the next gold cycle. So that process took two steps. The first step was to acquire assets, and then with those assets, attract a team to develop the company. So on this first step, the first asset acquired was Cerro Quema in Panama. Pierre's involvement with Franco-Nevada and Cobre Panama gave him intimate knowledge of the geology of the nation. So he had a unique understanding of what kind of ore bodies could be found in Panama. That was followed up with the acquisition of Camino Rojo in Mexico. And during the previous gold bear market, we had an opportunity to add over 10 million ounces to the Orla portfolio. So having those two great assets in the portfolio, the team was then assembled, starting with the recruitment of Chuck Jeunesse as the chairman of the board for Orla. Chuck brings with him a lot of experience, including the starting of Glamis Gold, and Orla Mining has a strategy very similar to Glamis when it began. So Orla is going to begin with Chuck Jeunesse, and Chuck recruited a board of directors that's quite enviable, industry veterans, and then he recruited me. I had just finished building the second largest gold mine in Mexico, and Chuck and the board felt like adding me as the new leader of Orla would be a good strategic move, because Orla's first mine is also a gold mine in Mexico. And so that's how the story began. Put together over 10 million ounces of gold, add to it a team that knows what to do with those resources to create value for investors. And that's how we began.
So what would you say makes the company unique and different compared to some of your peers out there?
Yeah, I think our performance over the last 2 years supports that statement that we have some differences from our peers. As I stated, it started with a luxurious position of having over 10 million ounces and a board and group of shareholders that are industry veterans and quite enviable. But at that point, we had to begin executing. And so since then, we've executed on a feasibility study for our first mine in Mexico. We've been able to finance that, and that's a differentiating step as well. And finally, we were able to enhance the gold that's going to be produced out of that first mine in Mexico. So those three execution steps have provided some differentiation in the past 2 years. And granted, we achieved all those things in a rising gold market. And if you can put together successes with the rising gold market, you have the kind of performance that we've had.
And you alluded to this a little bit earlier in the interview, but I'd love to get the full picture. What was your background prior to joining Orla Mining?
Sure. So I'm a mining engineer, and I started in the base metal side of the business in the mid-90s. I moved up through the engineering and operating ranks, culminating as the general manager of Voisey's Bay in Newfoundland and Labrador. In 2013, I transitioned to the gold space, recruited by Fred Stanford, who is the former president of Inco Limited. I joined Fred in 2013, and my job at Torex as the chief operating officer was to permit, help finance, build, and then operate the gold mine that they have in Guerrero, Mexico. And that gold mine is now producing over 450,000 ounces a year. When I was finished that job, Fred supported my transition to Orla to take on the CEO role and work with Chuck and his team.
And then from what you can tell us, what would you say are some of the company's value catalysts now moving forward?
Sure. our strategy is always to ensure that the company has layers of value that we can continue to deliver to shareholders. And so the ones that your audience can expect in the future are that very shortly we'll announce the permit that will enable us to get started on our first gold mine in Mexico. Number two is that we will complete the agreement that we previously announced with Fresnillo that will enhance that first gold mine in Mexico. Number three is that we will produce an updated feasibility on that enhancement so that the market can get an understanding of the additional gold ounces that we were able to secure through that agreement. Number four, they can expect regional exploration results from both starting in Mexico and then Panama. Number five, we're going to update the pre-feasibility study that we currently have in Panama so that we're ready to construct that Oxide mine next. Number six, we'll produce a maiden resource on a copper gold discovery, also in Panama. And number seven, we'll provide visibility on our development plan for the over 8 million ounces we have in sulfide gold in Mexico. So you can see in those 8 catalysts, there's a lot of news coming from Orla over the next 6 months.
And with that, where can my audience go and find everything they need to know about Orla Mining?
Sure, so orlamining.com. Trust that you'll get very quick response from our executive management team. We're definitely a roll up the sleeves, hands-on kind of group.
Well, Jason, with that, thank you so much for joining us today. I really do appreciate it. Stay safe, good luck, and I look forward to our next update.
Well, thank you for the opportunity and I hope everybody can stay healthy.
Thank you. Again, my name is Robert Kraft. I'm your host on SNN Network. We're a proud media sponsor for the upcoming Precious Metals Summit, Beaver Creek, and that is going to be virtual this year. Jason will be there on behalf of Orla Mining, and thank you all for listening today.
Thanks, Robert.